all panelists will any one of the panelists and our dearest professors and professionals, if they make any presentation, they will share it with everyone. So definitely. So we will start the webinar from now. Esteemed keynote speakers, guest speakers, and attendees, good morning and welcome to the Marketing Summit, Post-Pandemic Transcending Marketing Challenges. Actually, no doubt that the pandemic has escalated the utilization of new forms of conducts across many disciplines. For marketeers, actually, it evoked many challenges, and how marketeers can shift those challenges to the benefit of consumers and the marketplace is the main big question of this summit. Through integrating the expertise of all our esteemed keynote speakers and guest speakers, and of course, through the input of all our valuable attendees during the hands-on experience session, which will be an open discussion platform. So all actually attendees can post any question they like, and we will direct these questions to the second session, which will have also our other guest speakers and panelists. So for now, it's a great honor to start the summit with our Dean of School of Business. Please welcome with me, Professor Dr. Sharif Kamil.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim. Good morning. A very warm welcome to all of you attending the summit. First, I would like to wish you, your family, your loved ones, to all stay safe and in good health. I want to start by thanking our own Dr. Ibrahim Al-Sahouli for putting together the summit, but also thank my colleagues who actually, I'm sure, have put a lot of efforts helping put this meeting together, which comes timely and rightly so, aiming to bring in a diversified portfolio of expertise to share their insights, both locally and from global perspectives, to address the marketing challenges and other challenges we have been facing since COVID-19 hit later last year. I'm also delighted to be joined by executive practitioners and students from the UK, France, Bulgaria, and of course, Egypt. And I look forward to not into the too distant future to welcome you all in person on campus. So post-pandemic transcending marketing challenges. I think it's least to say, a timely topic given all what we're going through as a global community. But let me just step back for a few minutes and just give you my own perspective from someone whose background is not actually marketing, it's technology. But we've seen synergies between marketing and technology. Industrial revolution, and we start hearing 5, 6, 7 years ago about the future of work, the future of learning, the impact of innovation on manufacturing, agriculture, trade, healthcare, education, retailing, consumer behavior, and definitely it changed how people work, study, shop, communicate, get entertained. The mere fact we're meeting today through this platform shows you how technology is in many ways affecting our lives. Late in 2019, actually disruption came in a different shape and form. We know it as COVID-19. I like to describe it as a perfect storm, a stealth attack, more or less an invisible enemy that actually affected the whole world with no discrimination whatsoever. It affected the developed world, the emerging economies, and it affected the lives, but also the livelihood of so many people. Individuals, organizations, societies. Ironically, it's the digital transformation who was seen as disruption, in a way, saved the day to an extent, not totally, but to an extent. Yet again, no matter how we think about it, there is nothing good about societies being affected by a pandemic. That said, the coronavirus, in my view, offered a number of openings and opportunities for us to think differently and try to do different things in a different way as we move forward, hopefully beyond the pandemic. For starters, I should say, people like me, people in the technology field, I see it that way, whether they are CTOs, CIOs, managing directors of technology companies, I think they failed in really pushing big time digital transformation. But COVID-19 managed to do that in like what, a month, two? Maybe it's because of people. People always talk about change, promote change, want to change, push for change, but they never want to change. This time, they actually changed. Maybe because they didn't have a choice. They didn't have many alternatives, which is good because it opens up opportunities to accelerate what we have been going through for many, many years. Obviously, most recently with adoption of what we call the fourth industrial revolution. I'll give you a story that I witnessed myself, and this dates back to 1995. Someone called Scott McNeely at the time was the founder and CEO of one of the leading companies in the world called Sun Microsystems. I remember I was in a meeting with him in January 1995, and he said, we stopped traveling, or we actually cut down traveling for executives because we thought it was very expensive. So people are meeting through teleconferencing, as we used to call it at the time. And that, back in 95, saved the companies millions of dollars. So that notion was there 25 years ago, almost 26 years ago, coming next January. So what I want to say is that that trend impacting our lives, obviously including marketing, was there. But it gradually became accelerated through time. We've been seeing that throughout our lives, at least over the past two and a half decades, if not more. And that in itself is having invaluable impact on consumer behavior. So I think the very first point we look at it, and I was just chatting with Dr. Ibrahim Higazi just before we go live, that he was saying that even the shopping is actually becoming different. What people are buying, how they're buying it is becoming different because we're looking at things differently. So shopping online obviously accelerated, even in the context of Egypt, big time over the past year. Will that sustain? Will that actually be the same case, let's say 2, 3, 4 months from now? We just heard the news yesterday that there could be a breakthrough in the vaccine. So hopefully, if that vaccine becomes available, accessible, affordable to the entire world, hopefully, maybe in a year's time or even less, we will be over this. But will shopping go back to what it used to be? I don't think so. So people are talking about the new norm, and they're having all the wild ideas. I can tell you we're not going to fly. But surely, as individuals, but surely our behavior is going to change because people saw different ways of doing things. So one of them is definitely shopping. How will the market behave? How will consumers behave? That's definitely one point to think about. The second is the concern about safety and health. It will remain an issue. I think that will remain an issue even beyond the pandemic, beyond having a vaccine, because we've gone through a lot over the past 10 months or so. I remember back in 2005 when Tom Friedman wrote his book, The World is Flat. I think we realized today that the world is not just flat. The world is flat and became, in many ways, dysfunctional in no time because of what we've gone through. And actually, in July this year, I was interviewing Tom Friedman, and I actually reminded him of his book. And he said, absolutely. We got into a standstill in no time. I mean, we forget, but in the span of 2, 3, 4 weeks, one country after the other, as if it's really a global village, started putting curfews, staying at home, and immediately the consumer, much smarter than anybody else, started to behave differently across the world. Again, no discrimination. How to accommodate that, how to adapt to that, I think that's the key point. My third point is working is going to shift. Work from home, work from work. Even that, it's just accelerating. How many of you, I can see now on the call, around 149 people, how many of you, at least 10 years ago, worked sometime from home, sometime from the office, sometime from a coffee shop, sometime from a garden if they have a good connection? It's just being accelerated. We didn't expect to stay at home for 10 months or working at home for 10 hours, but that's again, a way to think how the consumer is behaving what do they need, how will they navigate those difficult times. Let's look at a few examples. Twitter, I read an article that Twitter are actually entertaining to work from home forever, regardless of, I don't know how true that is, but regardless when a vaccine will be out and when we get over COVID. Google, at least for the next year, they're going to be working from home. Someone is going to say, but these are technology companies. I can tell you, even in the context of Egypt, I've already seen some companies who are entertaining the idea of co-working spaces, entertaining idea of shifts. So not everybody's going to be going to work every day. They're going to be working partly from home, partly from the office. Why are they doing that? They're looking at the cost element. Others are still psychologically not ready to go back to the office. So whether we call it reduce, right sizing, downsizing, whatever the name we're going to use, there is definitely a shift in consumer behavior. The result is actually seeing more flexibility in time management and in working from different locations remotely. Let's just drop the work from home, but working remotely from wherever people want. The third, when it comes to interaction, contactless payments. Remember the credit card and the tap-ins? I even saw it myself in Cairo. People do not want to give the credit cards to the person in the shop to use it. They want to tap in. They don't want anybody to touch their credit card. Again, will that sustain? Maybe yes, maybe no. But it's again a change in what consumers want to see. They fear to get contaminated. I do not like to use the word social distancing, but I don't think we've ever been more social than the last 10 months. Okay, being connected all the time. I'd rather use the term physical distancing. So people now, at least many people, are more into healthy spacing, as they call it, wearing masks, wearing gloves, minimizing physical contacts. That takes us into the notion of e-wallets. Even they don't want to use the credit card. They're looking for e-wallets. And I'm happy to say that even in the context of Egypt, a country that no more than 14% of its adult population have bank accounts, we have close to 14 million e-wallets. I'm not saying all of them are extremely active, but at least there is a base that we can build on moving forward. How many people have between credit cards, debit cards, and prepaid cards in Egypt? 33 million. That is a market, I think, for marketeers to really be focusing on, because that segment of the market will be looking for alternatives that are different from the ones we were used to before. Moving forward, I think it's a very much related to what we're talking about here, is focusing on self-improvement, the well-being of the consumer, how they feel safe, what needs to be done, awareness campaigns, so that they move freely, at least during the period before having a vaccine out there, and then later on how the market will stabilize in terms of attitude and so on and so forth. I've already spoken about digital migration. We're going to see it, I think, in every sector, in every business, in every industry, not in the same magnitude. There is no one size that fits all, but surely we're going to see an acceleration in that context. So going more virtual. But the one thing I think would be very interesting in consumer behavior again, and looking at the market challenges, the personalization, the customization of campaigns. And again, haven't we seen that over the past 10, 20 years? Of course. But it's again, the key word is the acceleration of what we used to have before. Looking at social media, I personally am not a big fan of social media. I even got lost through all these platforms. But 42% of the population, one way or another, in Egypt, have a presence in social media. That is a lot. And we have seen dramatic increase, even if I compare between January 2019 and January 2020, with an increase of close to 7.5%. And I expect over the past year, leading up to January 2022, that will be even magnified. Social media is actually becoming an incredible marketing tool. People think of Instagram as picture, people think of Twitter as news channels, people think of LinkedIn as a platform for job creativity and employment and so on and so forth. I look at them, as all of them, as a window of access to a wide market regardless where they are, regardless of time and distance barriers, for marketing opportunities. The next step is, I think, a strong, seamless, omni-channel platforms for everybody. I mean, catching up on the consumers and how they react and how we can assess their changing behavior around the clock. Next point, I think, and again, it's important when we look at marketing challenges, is people will be looking to economize more until we go through the global economy, whether it's going to be V-shaped, whether it's going to be U-shaped recovery. We're still talking a couple of years at least. So people will be looking for more rational decision making in what they spend. So the keyword frugal spending, I think, will dominate in the next few years. And I think the challenge for marketing expertise will be how to, in the midst of all that, help really create value for the consumers. Storytelling, I think, is key, and how to drive the consumer interest. And I think this is where social media, despite my own deficiencies in those platforms, will be extremely important. The human experience, obviously, is key. People think that we're going to be replaced by robots. I don't think so. I can promise you that, not in our lifetime. But I think we need people who can manage to deal better with technology and with robots, rather than replacing people with robots. Everything has a caveat. With all the promises and opportunities I shared, I think there is still an issue of privacy. There is an issue of concern that also in the minds of consumers. I'm being exposed. Everybody knows everything about me. They know exactly what I do, what I buy. When I log into a website, they know exactly what I want, what I'm looking for. It's a reality. Definitely privacy and security is an issue. Health data is an issue. Sharing location is an issue, but that's part of the game. Having said that, data-driven consumer experience is priceless as we move forward. To people to navigate exactly what the consumer are looking for and what they want, and their continuous changing behavior. I think, as I said before, we will be looking for more sort of alliances, ecosystems, with obviously main point in mind is generating revenues. But I think it's going to happen through a valuable and strong interconnected channel presence. Last but not least, I want to say that, in my view, and again, you're the expertise here. I'm not a marketing expert, not even close. I'm a technology management guy. I think those who are going to make it are not going to be the ones who are big or small, fast or slow, connected or not. But I think those who are going to make it big time, not just to overcome those challenges, but also in the tail end of it, prosper and make a difference, are those who are going to be faster, better in adapting. So I think adaptation and relevance is the key word here. Again, I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts. I would like to again thank Dr. Ibrahim Sahuli and everybody, and I wish you all a fantastic event, and please stay safe and healthy. And again, as I said at the beginning, I look forward that our next sort of summit to take place at AUC, and we welcome you all as a team in person. Thank you very much.
So much, Dr. Sharif. Thank you so much, Professor Sharif, for your very insightful keynote and address. And really, I believe that everyone really have benefited a lot from your insight. And now I will move on, and it's my sincere pleasure to further welcome our dear Professor Dr. Ibrahim Higazi, Professor of Marketing, School of Business in the AUC.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, and it's my pleasure to participate with you, and it's my pleasure to listen to Dr. Sharif, and also looking forward to listen also to my colleagues from around the world. And I really thank Dr. Sharif as our School of Business Dean to host and to participate also with us from a technology point of view, which is, Dr. Sharif, you are absolutely right in what you said as comments. Allow me to talk about the title of our summit today, which is Transcending Marketing Challenges. I would like to share with you my presentation. First of all, there are some facts that we all have to know about the seriousness of what we are facing today. As of yesterday, we have almost 50.7 million known infections. Furthermore, we have 33.1 million known recovery from COVID. And what is really alarming is the 1.26 million deaths have been recorded during the last year, or less actually than a year now. So this is basically what we're facing is not a regional, issue, but it's more of a global paradoxical effect, that there is still, confusion about what causes that and what are the symptoms and how can we cure it, which led, since this is a global issue and the numbers keep accelerating day by day, and we are actually verging into the second wave of COVID as we approach the fall and winter, then we are actually, as economies and as governments, we are facing a global recession. That actually created, an immediate, lasting, to a great extent, a negative impact. Whether that negative impact is socially or in business terms or economic terms or in fiscal and monetary terms. So these are all facts that we have to take into consideration as businesses. And we have also to consider that the pandemic has drastic impacts on consumers. It is generally hurting more the lower income individuals and more likely to create more inequality among societies and among nations. Furthermore, the pandemic has propelled consumers even faster toward, as Dr. Sharif was mentioning properly, the digital behavior in many areas of our lives. As lockdowns took place, whether voluntarily or mandated by governments, social distancing, and I like the terminology or the term that Dr. Sharif used, it's more of a physical distancing, have acted as a power spike to employ more digital tools by us as individuals. And due to mandated quarantine by governments, or due to self-isolation by ourselves to protect our beloved people around us, and due to the issue of working from home, the use of technology, the use of streaming entertainment and shopping online, mitigated these issues of negative impacts by staying connecting with others and by staying connecting with our soul and spirit and feelings. Unfortunately, and I repeat this 3 times, unfortunately, trust, and this is very important in marketing, if we look about customer value. Trust in civil societies, trust in businesses, in companies, in governments declined dramatically. This reduced trust in business is making life more difficult for us as business to effectively deal with the pandemic negative business consequences. So these are our facts. And I would like to share with you some numbers that shows the impact on marketing terms. It shows that virtual reality, as you can see here, the segment compound annual growth rate for the next 5 years. These are predictions that we will rely more on artificial intelligence. We will rely more in marketing activities on virtual reality. Over-the-top videos also is increasing. It's the live streamings of movies, of entertainment issues. Video and games also is increasing. As you can see, the highest is virtual reality. Internet advertising, internet access, out of home, which is the billboards. And you can see that the numbers start to decreasing. But if you look at the top of this figure here, We are moving more into the online activities, more relying on artificial intelligence, more relying on understanding that people behavior changed. Whether it's going to last or not, that has to be seen, especially with the announcement yesterday. Although even when they announced the Pfizer issue about the vaccine, they said, or the CEO of Pfizer, he actually said that we will not be able to provide it globally, at least for the next year. In marketing terms also, and I'm sharing also a chart that I noticed that there is an increase in online and digital activities. 57% of people globally have been watching more shows and films on streaming services. 47% have been spending longer time using social media. 46% have been socializing, have been connecting, not physically, but through spending longer time in messenger activities like WhatsApp and the likes. Listening to more music, streaming again, 39%. And the idea keeps rolling and rolling in terms of moving from the traditional back to the 2019 approaches to more of a digital approach. In marketing terms, what happened for companies? Was there an impact from the change of behavior, from this lack of trust, from this social distancing or physical distancing, from self-isolations? Did companies actually respond to that in terms of strategic thinking in marketing terms? Again, since I rely more on statistics, you can see the tremendous shift from traditional marketing activities and marketing communication tools. It has been also moving toward the technology issue, through the linkage between marketing and technology usage, and the linkage between making life easy for people to avoid interaction physically more than before is kind of very obvious from the graph that you can see. We used to have face-to-face interactions in conferences and summits. Now you can see that investments are going more into the digital summits, the digital webinars or seminars online, more organic social activities online, more online videos. And on the end extreme, on the right side of the figure here, you see that the reliance on the traditional means of communications is getting to be less and less. Negatively, you see that, again, events and experiential activities are diminishing dramatically in terms of the investments in the future from marketing. So what is my recommendation? And I would like to be just very straightforward and short, so I allow my colleagues also to share their point of view. From my perspective as a professor of marketing and as well as a consultant and advisor to a number of companies in Egypt here and in the region as well. And this is what I did actually during the last year. And I felt that we are moving forward with the adaptations. I have 4 recommendations to make at the end of my speech. Number one, and this is the most important one, that in marketing, we have to understand that the only constant in life today and yesterday and tomorrow is that everything is changing. And so if everything is changing, we also have to adapt to these changes. So number one recommendation for me for companies and for businesses is to be agile, to be flexible, to update their marketing strategies to fit the changes that is taking place in consumer behavior. And luckily enough, technology and the analytics and the dashboards can allow us through understanding what is going on in consumer behavior and consumer habits and patterns. Companies need to redesign and they need to adapt their marketing strategies for post-COVID-19 world. The clock never goes back. Nothing go back as it is. We wish that things go back, but the actual reality is nothing goes back. In a nutshell, companies have to redefine what the meaning of marketing success is. Is it actually to retain customers only? Is it to acquire new customers? Is it to gain their trust again? Because their movements, the thoughts of what is good in marketing has definitely, through my research, has definitely showed that things have changed. Second, and I think Dr. Sharif have elaborated nicely and smoothly in this point, that we have to increase our digital we have to increase our online marketing presence. During the pandemic, a wide range of businesses have worked to increase their online presence for the basic facts that consumer behavior and consumer habits have changed. As a result, maintaining an effective, engaging, interactive, quickly responding digital marketing platform at a higher level of activity than before the pandemic is crucial, since it is this platform that consumer trust. It is that platform that consumer and customers have developed a long-term expected relationship with it. So again, by hook or crook, companies, if they want to survive and to grow and to retain their levels of market share, they will not be able to do that without the shift, without the increase, without the understanding of an effective digital online marketing platform is essential. Thirdly, and we always talk about with our students about, if I tell you marketing, what it is, what's the synonym word for it? It's customer value. It's the customer satisfaction. It's the customer loyalty that we all try to look and to work for. So number 3 recommendation for me is that we have to review our customer experience to entice new buyers, to retain existing ones, and to build the brand value and to build the brand equity. And here I would like to just clarify the difference between brand value and brand equity, because we teach courses called Managing the Brand Equity. Brand equity is about perceptions of a brand in people's minds, in consumers and customers' mind. And brand value is more from an economic terms, that there is a potential growth in the goodwill of a giving brand. So in marketing, truly our main focus is to increase the brand equity in the customer's mind, to increase their positive perceptions in customer minds. And so imagine that you have a brand that is standing still, thinking that things will change and will go back to normal, and this will not actually build the brand equity. And obviously, alternatively, it will not lead to a brand value. So we have to engage our customers more with us. We have to focus on boosting our customer experience and our customer loyalty. Post-pandemic, businesses should be able to capitalize on digital marketing campaigns. But the purpose of the digital marketing campaigns here is that it has to focus on strengthening relations with customers and to build customer loyalty rather than to incur some kind of profits on the short term. Through marketing research, which again, very important to lead to customer experiences. Research has been taking place in the middle of the pandemic, and some of the research platforms have found that customer care, they cited that customer care is one of the most important factor affecting their opinion of a given company. Customer care is the most important factor affecting their opinion of a given company. So that goes without saying that customer experience, engagement with customers, getting closer to customers, change accordingly to the changes that are taking place in a customer expectation from a company. This is a very important fact. And we've seen that many service companies like airlines, they keep now communicating by emails. They keep showing that they are concerned about the well-being and the health when there is interactions with them as companies. Because in a service, sometimes like airlines, like hospitals, you have to be physically there. You cannot travel online, and you cannot get your medications and your operation and surgery online. This has to stay as it is. However, the environment, the customer experience around that has to be adapted to the reality that you're facing today. Last but not the least, and I think a lot of companies, whether medium size or large size, or even the small entrepreneurial approach, they have to think of their corporate social responsibility role. A lot of individuals now, especially Gen Z and especially the millennial generations, they've been thinking of, I am not going to be working or buying or listening or engaging with a company that does not show its care and concern about the responsibility toward societies. Global warming is one of the factors that internationally it's gaining momentum, especially now with the pandemic, that some people, some scientists are saying that there is a relationship between the virus that is spreading and between global warming. And the other companies are really concerned about the impact of these kind of notions. And we've seen that globally on Gen Z and especially on the millennium, how they are very concerned about environment, how they're very concerned about companies that should not be looking only for profitability in their mindset and in their mission, but it is more important that companies have to be concerned about with different degrees of approach about that CSR. The COVID-19 pandemic presented many ethical implications for businesses. It presented many ethical views of how businesses are responding to the pandemic. Therefore, businesses have engaged in a wide range of philanthropic CSR actions during the pandemic. Businesses must act to benefit societies, to protect the well-being of its employees, and to maintain the trust of their stakeholders, not just the trust of their shareholders and customers, but the entire stakeholders during and post COVID-19 pandemic. This is my just bullet format of how I am actually approaching as a professor teaching my students that what we've been teaching you before in terms of the marketing communications, in terms of the approach toward marketing activities, it's almost obsolete. In fact, almost 70% of my lectures today are no longer from the traditional books because these are obsolete. The principles are there, the P's are there, but the way we approach them, the way we utilize them are different. Customer care and customer experience have been dominating the marketing arena now. So these are my 4 recommendations: to be agile, to be more digitally, to care about customers, and to be concerned about customer experience. And last but not the least, with certain degrees, depending upon the commitment, the issue of CSR is gaining momentum. I thank you for giving me the time. And again, once again, I thank Professor Sharif Kamel as Dean of the Business School of at AUC for hosting and for actually sponsoring this kind of activity. And last but not the least, for my beloved student and colleague now, Professor Sahouli. I thank you for organizing this, and I thank you for giving me the time to be one of the distinguished presenters, and I look forward to listen to my also distinguished colleagues around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Ibrahim. Thank you so much for your really so in-deep, insightful keynote address. Also, again, I want to special thanks for and having really a deep pleasure for having both of you, Professor Sharif and Professor Ibrahim, of course, with us. And I will move on now to our next following sessions, which we will shed light on the many obvious marketing challenges that were actually witnessed during the pandemic. Our valuable guest speakers will share their real-life experiences and how they were able to transcend those marketing challenges and create added values during COVID-19. Each session will only be around 10 minutes, and it should highlight the challenge and pinpoint the adopted strategies to overcome it. So I will start with the first session, which will bring to us insights from the UN, United Nations, by the co-chair of the Sustainable Development Commission, Dr. Walid Saleh. Welcome, Dr. Walid. Dr. Walid?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Can you hear me? Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim, for the invitation. And I would like to welcome my dear colleagues before me and after me as well. Thank you very much for this kind of invitations. Actually, we can, frankly speaking, all of us as a human being in a challenging time. This has affected us directly because if you remember, in 2015, we launched the Sustainable Development Goals and the agenda for 2030. This is 17 goals looking for development in all of other aspects in our life, education, health, business, climate change, poverty, everything. What happened is after starting from December, everybody started panic about this COVID-19 and started spreading here and there, and then suddenly lockdown. This will lead us to make a change, because now it's a 5 years. Activities should be continue as the same. But what happened is 5 years in scenario, now we have to create completely different scenarios to promote and activate the sustainable development goals. This is a kind of marketing, it's very difficult at that moment before, but now we are more focusing on online platforms, which help us to connect it more with each other. The benefit from COVID-19 actually for us is to increase the benefit. How come? Now, for example, exactly last year, like now, I've been in New York for the United Nations General Assembly held. It's from September up to, September up to November. This is a whole thing looking in different, all the departments in United Nations. This is the annual meeting for us. But what happened is before, instead of I'm New York, I'm here in United Kingdom, and I'm connected with the others through the online, as we are online meeting as we are on now. Before the COVID-19, some participants, they couldn't travel, for example, to United Kingdom, to United States, sorry, from New York, or to Geneva and Switzerland and other campuses there. But what happened is now people with normal registration, they can in and they can participate, so they can add value for the concepts we need. Exactly if we take this from the business side, especially in the goal number 9, which is related with business and innovation. Now we need what, if you see me, Dr. Ibrahim, long time, if I'm talking, I'm always talking about the innovation process. The innovation process, how to market the product itself or the brand. It doesn't matter. This is something can consume it or principle, like the sustainable development or whatever, anything, any product need a creative process. Now, I felt that from all what happened over the last almost 10 months, it is just we need another stage from the creative process, but based on human way of thinking. This leads us to listen and balance. So we have here to listen for the change of the customer itself, the customer behavior and the behavior itself. The listen of no more than ever now, we need it. It's important to know the customer feel and do. And why? This is what they call it, according to this principle, they call it, this is a voice of the customer, VOC program. This is to listen to the references on the reflect and what happened from the COVID-19 time. And we have to use it after the COVID-19, especially after the great news happened yesterday. They discovered the vaccine effective almost than 90%. And then we will feel other shift, because I think that we gain a benefit to participate in several activities online, and nobody would like to lose that benefit. Yes, we need the physical attendance in sometimes, but also we need the virtual meeting in other times. So we will gain the benefits from here to there. If this summit, hopefully, inshallah, it will be next time in the AUC in Egypt, so we can attend in the AUC campus at the same moment after the session, so I can attend for another virtual one in UK or in United States or wherever. But this is someone we couldn't do something like that, this type of activity before. This will lead to what we call it the balance your response as a marketeers, because marketeers must support the customer and protect also the customer relationship. This is what we call it a relationship, while staying honest about the product itself or about the article we are talking about if in a meeting like this. This also from the study need to make the what I would like to say anticipation operational impacts. The challenge to the product and the service delivery abounded during this crisis. Close the factories. So as a marketeers, you need to look for the supply chains and we have to provide and make your product available on time, because now mostly we are using the delivery process more than the more than the normal thing. If I would like to buy, I will go directly. Now I have to order online, and you have to, as a marketer as well, you have to manage your promises, set realistic expectation about the service level, about the product launching dates, product availability, and so on, what you needed. For example, if I am ordering something now, the delivery will be tomorrow. So you have to be tomorrow, which is mean tomorrow I have to receive it. For example, if we have to launch a new product, because mostly now in November and Christmas time and something like that, the new brands and new model, new fashion, everything comes. So we have to be, as we say, on track with the market needs to can provide the planning itself, and to have to create the capacity to address the customer service volume itself, craft attractive messages to distribute via email, social media, and web answers, comma. I will give you personal example happened for me. I would like, I drink too much coffee. Of course, because of the lockdown, I have been, I ordered online, which is a brand I use to drink it. Suddenly, this is actually via Facebook advertising. I found the company, my supplier, we can say in academic way, on professional, this is my supplier. I found them as just online advertising published in the Facebook. While I ordered, I received already my coffee capsules. And what happened after that? 90% from the advertising I'm seeing up till now via Facebook, it's only coffees, different kind of brands, including my brands. I think this came from the innovation process, from how the Facebook team use the algorithm about the search, about the buying, about the stuff like that, as also in Google. This, I think, ramp up what I'd like to say, that ramp up the digital delivery itself, the digital delivery for the advertising, also the digital delivery and promoting the apps itself, or promoting the product or the brand, what we need, even based that program. So we need to make the something skills. It's about to encourage the behavior about the contactless. Here, for example, in UK, we had this long time ago, but with limited time, so we can use our card maximum £30 if you purchase purchase anything more than this for £30. So you can log in this your card in the machine and put your passcode, and that's it, the transaction done. Also, it's a type of increasing. We are now working remotely. But I insist that we can work remotely, plus we can work physically, because end of the day, we are human beings. We have to keep this human connection between each other. And instead of, I would like to go to the exhibition, for example, so you can send the samples you produce, you delivered, and you distributed in the exhibition to my home, for example. So I can be updated by the new brand, by the logo, by the text messages, using text messages, using emails, personal emails as well. And instead of the just for hire emails, if I am registering your company, for example, I will order something, then when I receive the email, dear valued, by my name, personal one, it will be a very good policy, because that means for me that I'm valuable customer for that company, and that company look for me personally, then I will keep up my behavior to buy this product itself. Generally, we have to secure everything. They secure the privacy, secure the product, secure the quality of the product itself. So the secure mail and the delivery, as well as I mentioned before. This secured media early, everyone in the same boat now, all of us in the same boat, and everyone looking to secure the key spots to replace lost of the opportunity. If we lost an opportunity before, now I have to gain it by text message, just email, advertising on the Facebook, for example. This is what we call it now at the moment, plays as a part from the sustainable development. In terms of sustainable development, it means a different thing to different people. But in essence, we're concerned about the meeting and the needs of people today without compromising the ability of the future generation. This is, we need it now, but as well, we have to look for the next generation, because everything looking moment, we can't deliver our planet damage. We can't deliver our product damage. We can't deliver our brand damage for the next generation from the marketeers. No, we have to deliver the brand or the product stable, strong, and valuable. And then the new marketeer, he will be or she will be put another plan to develop the product and increase the market. Of course, this issue create a lot of competitive advantage through the brand innovation itself. So the company creates a competitive advantage by understanding the shift in the society from technological innovation, such as Facebook and this profiling. We have a lot of things now, do many brands, and the needs of the customer itself. So as a customer, I find myself a lot of advertising here and there. There is no advantage from here. There is, what is the advantage from this one? And this will let me study the policies itself you provided as a marketeers and the brand you provided for me as a customer. And then I will decide at the end of the day, which brand or which product is suitable for me and my budget itself. Some of them, this is the main thing I'm concerned about. Some of them, unfortunately, lost them jobs or them income decreased. So as a marketeers, you put a new policies to keep those people in your list as a customer, and plus you can target a new segment from the customers. You need some from the people they lost or they faced decreased in the income to keep them in your brand and to keep them to buy your product. By myself, I feel that we are not only in a challenging time as much as we are on the time of innovation. New policies as economics, new policies as a marketeers, new policies as a politician itself to come cope because of, from what happened from the COVID-19. If we can, definitely the recession happened because of the COVID-19, extremely more or less looks like the one happened after the Second World War, which is in 1945. Regardless the situation, regardless everything, now we are in the challenging time. So we have to create, insist about the innovation process, and an innovation process will be targeting not only me as an individual or the academic or the people. No, we will target the whole human life and provide for them the products, the service they need. And before I can just go to my GP, my doctor, to have an appointment. Now is not. I have to go log in on NHS and his website, make a reservation, and then I receive the appointment. And then I have to be before the appointment 10 minutes, and then I go take my service and then back. If I would like we have now the prescriptions. If I have to renovate them with my medication, then directly I have to send the email from my GP, and my GP send it to the pharmacy, and then I received the confirmation, and then I go. Before it takes time. Now it is just half an hour or 1 hour, and then I can go to deliver to receive my medication from the pharmacy itself or from the chemist. Actually, I know this topic. Now we are in thinking, and I'm looking forward for the discussion between each others. And I would like to thank you, Dr. Ibrahim, again for your kind invitation. Thank Dr. Sharif and Dr. Ibrahim Hijazi. And I'm very welcome for any questions, and thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Walid. Thank you for the lovely talk. And going now for the second session, please welcome Dr. Tahir Rashid, International Lead from Stanford Business School, United Kingdom.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much, Dr. Ibrahim, for inviting me to this session. It's a pleasure to be sharing some ideas with distinguished colleagues who have presented previously and who will be presenting after me as well. So I have just few things to share with you this morning in terms of my understanding from a marketing perspective and digital marketing perspective. And I'd like to share my screen with you, just if you allow me. So I hope you can see my screen. And I'm going to start this presentation. So my name is Tahir Rashid, as Professor Al-Suli mentioned, and I'm a senior lecturer in digital marketing at Software Business School in the UK, and also for the international lead, which basically means that I'm responsible for all international students in the business school and all our partnerships. So my topic really, as was for this summit, is that it is about what is happening currently in terms of the COVID-19 situation and what is going to happen in the future. So as you can see from the this area that we have seen from the previous colleagues, that we are going through a situation which has never been seen before. So I'd like to talk about from four perspectives. One is that it is digital transformation that is going to happening for a lot of companies in terms of their behavior as organizations, but also in terms of consumers and how they are behaving in this current environment. And I call it the 4 C's of digital marketing as a recommendation to adapt in this current crisis. And this hopefully will help not only marketeers, but digital marketers and business people alike to understand and focus their strategies from a marketing perspective in terms of how to best deliver effectively the marketing strategies and also to meet the needs of their markets and consumers. So the 4 C's of digital marketing are C for crisis, and crisis in this particular case, we have COVID-19. We have C, the customers, the C for content, and the C for channel. So let's look at the first C that many, couple of the distinguished panelists have actually already alluded to. This crisis is a once in a lifetime, and the crisis but this particular time is called the COVID-19. Tomorrow there may be another crisis, hopefully not, but that's the reality of what we live in this particular world. It could be environmental issues, it could be other issues, but the crisis happened from time to time, and we are now going through the pandemic as a crisis. And this particular crisis is testing everybody at different levels. It is testing governments, it is testing countries, it is testing basically organizations, how they behave with their employees. It is testing individuals at an individual level, how we are living together in perhaps in quarantine with our family members in the same environment, in the same household, unable to get out for 6 months at a time. So it means that our relationships with each other and how we function as a society is changing. At the same time, the different rules of lockdown and different rules of various quarantine measures that have been taken by governments all around the world is creating not only confusion, but also anxiety and uncertainty for businesses and markets. We are currently, for instance, at this moment in time, are in the second lockdown in the United Kingdom. And this, for small businesses in particular, is absolutely devastating because they're having to close down, particularly in the hospitality and tourism industry and in retailing, because they cannot function on the high street as they used to do so. So they have to now think, what do we do? Do we continue or do we actually go under? And organizations now have to think, rethink of who they are and what they really stand for. This crisis has also made us to think about the relationship that we have with our with the people, with organizations and brands generally. It has meant that retailers and shoppers alike had to pivot overnight to a digital-only reality, which did not exist before. And the behavior is changing from offline to considerably online, as been mentioned also in Egypt. I remember when Dr. Ibrahim was doing his PhD thesis with me, and his focus was about the adoption of e-commerce in Egypt. At that particular time, the e-commerce in Egypt was very, very minimal. And now we see that after a few years, it has been considerable increase in that particular country. And so this crisis has actually pushed that forward in such a way that perhaps it would not have happened. It is also mean that a lot of companies are, because of the closing of businesses, they're having to slash their marketing budgets, and they're having to think about value for money. How can we stretch the dollar as much as we can for our businesses and for our marketing strategies? So in all of this scenario, how can digital marketers create meaningful connections and relevant content in a time of crisis is meaning the fact that there is a paradigm shift in how we think and how we behave with our societies and with our customers. So moving on to the second C, which is a customer. And from me, the perspective from a marketing point of view is the customer, regardless whether it's marketing or digital marketing, should sit at the center of any strategy for any business, regardless of what crisis is this. And in this particular situation, especially with the COVID-19, we have to make the customer the focus of our businesses. And therefore, we have to plan a clear plan and how to engage with our customers as a first purpose. We need to know who our customers are in this changing environment. Where are these customers and their demographic? And that demographic is changing in terms of how customers are engaging with us, in terms of the online channels they are using, which I will come to in a minute. So we need to put ourselves in the step of in the shoes, if you like, of the customer. And think about from a customer's point of view, think about from our employees' point of view, and think about from our community point of view, and look at the pain they're going through and the trust points that the professor mentioned before. So the pain points and the trust points are key into that customer journey that we need to understand. So we need to connect with our customers through digital channels, and these digital channels are changing, and the way they want to connect, not the way we want to connect with our customers, but the way our customers want to connect. And we see that in, for instance, e-commerce environments, shoppers use a mixture of digital touch points along the buying journey, which they may be perhaps not using in the past as well. But at the end of the day, we have to be humble. We have to think about and be compassionate with our customers in terms of the content we have. So the channel is, in terms of the digital aspect, is changing, and the usage of that particular channel is changing considerably. And we have seen a shift from offline to online media channels during this particular crisis. We see, for instance, the online video consumption is much higher by 51% among the Generation Z than before COVID-19. We see that it increased in digital media consumption by Generation X, mainly broadcast TV in terms of online TV streaming has increased by 38% and online videos. And there are many statistics that the professor presented before, but this is just into perspective, the actual change of behavior into the usage of the channels that customers are using. We see, for instance, channels like LinkedIn, which is being used for targeting different networks. Now, more and more people are using it than ever before because they have more time to use it, and they're looking for jobs which they didn't, they're being made redundant or unemployed. So they're using it to connect with their employees or employers. The rise of TikTok is phenomenal as a channel which has been used for mood lifting content and which is being used for creating entertainment when at a time we are being locked inside our houses and we are anxious. The anxiety is happening, depression is happening, is on the rise. So the TikTok phenomenon is such that it has seen a 92% growth from 2019 to 2020, and particularly amongst the Generation Z who like to upload videos about dancing and other kind of entertainment, which helps us to basically stay in terms of sane in this environment. We've seen again with the Generation Z, the increase of Instagram, the instant uploading of pictures and videos, 1 billion users in 2020. YouTube, furthermore, has increased incredibly because we want to watch more video, because we have time to watch more video, and we are looking for more videos to actually stream. And similarly, Facebook is still there as the #1 kind of platform, but particularly for the baby boomers and the older people in terms of the adoption of that. But again, with employers and businesses unable to actually attend conferences, unable to be at this particular situation, Facebook Live and LinkedIn Live has been used for exhibitions and conferences. This morning we are using Zoom We are using Teams for conferences. Perhaps I would be sitting in Cairo this morning, which I would have loved to have done, but now I'm sitting actually in my home in Manchester and sharing with these. So these changes in our, from a business to business perspective, as well as the business consumer perspectives are happening, and these channels are making that happen. I would like to now move on to the third C, which is the content. And the content is what we actually say and communicate with our audiences, the messages we bring to our audiences. And the content has been to educate, to entertain, and the combination of that is to edutain content. The content has to be sympathetic and compassionate. The messages, as you can see from these videos, from brands like McDonald's and Audi, trying to advise us to be on a social distance. Volvo, which has a slogan, right now the safest place to be isn't in a Volvo, but actually in your home. So these brands add value and resonate with your audiences. So we have to think about, it's not about you, the business, it's about the others, the customers, inspiring and simple content which facilitate engagement and involvement. And again, there are further examples from IKEA which highlight exactly the same thing. The door shut is the key aspect here, not the door open in terms of the building aspect of it. So the new norm is be humble and add value. Question your own digital marketing assumptions moving forward in the post-COVID-19 situation. Consider alternative channels, audiences and communities, and listen to our businesses and customers alike and act on those rather than being basically what we want to do. Be agile and willing to adapt, as mentioned before. Differentiate by connecting that go well beyond the pandemic and the crisis beyond. This new norm is going to change the way we have been actually using the digital environment forever, perhaps. And this is going to be what we're going to look at in terms of the future and be ready for the new norm as we saw that maybe there is a vaccine and hopefully that will come through, that new norm will not be hopefully in the long-term future. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share some of my ideas, and I hope to listen to my colleagues in terms of their presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tahir. Thank you, Dr. for your really special talk. And now we're moving to our third session, Tackles Marketing Tourism, delivered by Lecturer University of Economics from Varna. Please welcome with me Dr. Toder.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Toder.
Hello, you hear me well? Yes?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you very well. Go ahead.
Oh, hello, everyone. I'd like to especially thank Mr. Dr. Ibrahim Sauli. My name is Todor Diankov. I'm a lecturer from the University of Economics in Varna in the domain of tourism. I had the pleasure to visit Cairo this springtime at 2020, just before the outbreak of the pandemic, and I have very nice memories with not only with Dr. Ibrahim, but with other colleagues and students from the American University in Cairo. So I hope one day to come again and to visit your institution. Surely it will be a pleasure for me. I was invited by Dr. Ibrahim to say some words about the tourism business and view, and from administrative and government point of view, because we cannot separately discuss those topics. Actually, what has happened so far with tourism? Just a few figures. The world tourism has witnessed unprecedented loss. Unprecedented loss from the Second World War now. The main tourist destinations like Italy, France, Spain, even Egypt, Turkey, they lost somewhere between 40 and 80% of their customers. You know that many countries in the world which have considerable population inhabiting their territories, they mainly rely on tourism and all types of activities which are directly or indirectly related to tourism. So you can imagine to lose between 40 and 80% of your customers for just for one season, for one summer season. It's a catastrophe. So the airline industry actually lost almost, I mean the tourist airline industry has reached almost 90% slump. The cruise line industry is actually closed, and only the cruise line industry, how to say, the cruise line industry is about $150 billion business per year. The first forecasts from the spring of 2020 were about 120 million jobs to be at risk in tourism, and now the forecasts are even affected that, especially for Egypt. You know that your country, I'm sure that almost every third of your citizens is more or less related to
Excuse me, Dr. Toder, your connection is not stable. Your voice keeps breaking out. Can you please?
I'm sorry. Do you hear me now well?
Yes, now we can hear you well. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I have some problems too. But anyway, the world tourism actually reaches to 10.3% of the world GDP, according to data from 2019. And combining world tourism business with world tourism related businesses, this percent reaches somewhere 18-19% of the world GDP. So what has happened so far and what is going on to happen? First, I will commend the administrative, the main administrative measures that are already taken. From 27th of May, the World Travel and Tourism Council has, by using a group of experts, has actually issued a special criteria system, which is named Global Protocols and stand for the new normal. Global Protocols and stand for the new normal. So this criteria system is actually adopted by several countries so far. Of course, it's not widely spread so far, but possibly step by step, it's a good basis to secure. It's a good basis to secure the safe, unified, standardized development of tourism business. So the general purpose of these global protocols and stamp is to help potential travelers to recognize establishments around the world which have adopted standardized health and hygiene protocols. And this criteria system actually encompasses several types of businesses in tourism, like hotels, restaurants, airlines, cruise lines, tour operators, restaurants, outdoor shopping, transportation, and airports. It's very much interesting that your country, the Egypt, has already adopted this global goals and stand for the new. Based on this criteria system and based on some other political presumptions, countries, different countries have started to organize travel bubbles or travel corridors or safe travel zones for traveling. Let's say the Baltic countries were was one of the first regions that organized free traveling between their citizens. It's about Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. No matter that we are located in the European Union, every single country in the European Union is acting solo or acting with bilateral or multilateral agreements with other countries, mainly bordering countries, because the main suggestion is that the tourism business will revive, will be restored from country level, from local country level to regional level and to intercontinental level. So this year, especially for my country, for Bulgaria, there was unprecedented growth of our domestic tourism. And not only in Bulgaria, but in most European countries, the domestic tourism actually flourished. And so the first forecasts and the first scenario was actually met. The local tourism in countries simply steps on the roots of the local tourism demand. So the domestic tourism demand is very much important. Then the next trend, which was actually fixed over the last several months, is about short-haul travels to bordering countries. When it's about Bulgaria, it was travels between Bulgaria and Greece, Bulgaria and Turkey. Romanians, they flooded Bulgaria, and they actually saved our tourist season, like international tourists. So other countries like India and the Maldives, they also organize such travel corridor. India, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, they enclosed the so-called spiritual circuit, try to enclose the spiritual circuit of this region by using another travel corridor. New Zealand and Australia also created trans-Tasman COVID-safe travel. Okay, I'm just finishing. And what are the main expectations? The main expectations is that 2021 will be a transitional year. This year will, as a time period, will be included into the recovery of tourism business. I'm sure that just after the outbreak of pandemic is over, has the ability to react immediately and has the readiness to restart, to reset its activity. The good news from the whole pandemic is that tourist companies like hotel survived. Only those tourist companies who are most adapted for the new reality. And a big part of those companies who are not competitive at all, they naturally went out from the system. So just from private purposes, there are several points that I may try to pinpoint. First, companies along with tourism authorities have to influence customers to overcome fear for traveling. Second, once again, tourism authorities has to regain customer trust and willingness to travel. Third, companies and tourism authorities on not only on company level but even on destination level, focusing on their experience with customers. Fourth, of course, enhanced digitalization is absolutely necessary, but it should go in hand with enhanced touch with customers. We should not forget that our business, the offline connection is inevitable, almost the whole travel process. And fifth, there should be a redesign of the tourist product by enhancing at least the quality of the tourist product, and the terms and conditions of negotiating and purchasing tourist products should be should be eased for customers. Let's say in order customers to have the ability to redirect or to make quick cancellations of the products they have chosen. And finally, there is the dilemma will come again after the pandemic. Tourist brand or customer relations, which one is the most important? For some tourism companies, the brand almost doesn't matter. Actually, they strictly rely on word of mouth communication, on their loyal customers, and they produce tailor-made products. So the brand doesn't even matter. And few sentences at the very end, just two examples. The Australian airline company Qantas, they tried to experience from the beginning of October a new creative idea by issuing flights which are named flights to nowhere. It means that they start from Sydney, the airport from Sydney, and they're coming back to airport of Sydney. The flight is about 7 hours in the air at low altitude over the barrier reef. Of course, the capacity is reduced to 50% or 40%, and a big part of the whole experience is actually held on the ground. The company has organized additionally for the customers a restaurant product with animation and so on and so on. It is the same with Ever Air Thailand, who actually administer Hello Kitty flights to nowhere. Over Thailand having almost the same product.
Yes, it was a very good idea, Dr. Toder. Yes, it was a very good idea for the airlines to encourage that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, because we have to move on to the next session. Thank you so much, Dr. Toder. We really pleased to have you with us. And we have to move to our fourth session. Thank you. Please welcome with me Ms. Habiba Mukhtar. She's the Commercial Sales Manager in Petromed Corporation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim, so much for the invite. And I don't know what to say after all what's been said from all the doctors here and all the attendees, because I guess they covered everything from business strategies and marketing and sales strategies post the COVID-19. First, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Habiba Mukhtar. I'm the Commercial Sales Manager in Petromed Corporation. Mainly, we are a petroleum company, and I believe that we were the most sector that got affected from the pandemic, because all the behaviors have been changed towards the energy industry. People stayed at home, and they were said to stay at home from the government Travel was banned. There is no tourism anymore. Schools and universities, everything that is fed by engine oils were stopped. And currently we returned back, but not that much. So I believe that the most affected industry after the tourism is the oil and gas, especially that the shifting of the base oil prices were, they've gone crazy. We faced a price for the barrel that was priced negatively in April 2020, and it didn't happen since 1983. And currently we returned back to $36 per barrel. So the first thing, or the first action that I was thinking about, is to stock some minimum level of the base oil, which was lower priced at that time, to be able to have like a strategic inventory from our products at a low price, because the customer mind even has drastically shifted to lower priced products. So because of what happened in the whole world, and not even in Egypt, people lost their jobs, they got fired, there were companies that closed. So the expenditure was completely shifted to a lower expenditure. And even the behavior of the customer has been drastically changed. Even in the oil change interval drains, they went from the 10,000 kilometers, they increased their interval draining to 15,000 kilometers to lower their expenses. And they started to shift their minds to even lower products, cheaper products, in order to save money, because the future was completely blurry for each and every one of us. So the first action that has been taken, that we need to stock base oil with lower prices to be able to cover 2020 with our products, with no shortage of our products, priced lower than the competition, because the competitors started to be very aggressive after the COVID-19, which was something very new for us. We thought that people might cut their marketing expenses, cut their advertising, cut everything, and they will only focus on the essentials. But unfortunately, this is not what happened. They introduced new, cheaper products. They changed the whole behavior in their marketing expenditure. Actually, they increased more their marketing expenditure. So for us, this was completely a new scene in recession time, or something like what we saw in the COVID-19, because automatically when anything affects the economy or the business, companies start to cut their expenses, especially the marketing expenses. But this is not what happened. Actually, the assessment of the plans currently became irregularly. We were setting our plans for 25 and 30 and 2030, but unfortunately, currently we are assessing our plans on monthly basis. And myself, I do assess on weekly basis on the offering, on what we can do to the customer, how to retain our customer. And I believe that this is the most important thing, because there is a theory about a 5% in a retained customer could generate profits around 25 to 95%. And actually, this is the first thing that I thought about, and thank God it got a very, very good results. I can remember that in Q3, I achieved like 98% from my targets and around 117% from the required gross margin, due to the strategies that have been taken since Q2, since the start of the pandemic, from loyalty programs and close communication with our customers, while offering them the help and whatever they needed. Because again, our industry is very competitive. We have around 20 companies in the market, and they are, let me say, they are competing each other in a very aggressive manner, from discounts, from incentives, from offerings, from everything. So the wholesaler is all the time bombarded with the offers. But what really matters to him, who will continue, who is the company that helped him at such tough time, and how lucrative is the product for him in terms of incentives, in terms of the amount of money that he will gain. This is the behavior of any wholesaler across the world. So even the customers' behavior drastically changed. They need to have something, or to work on a product, or to buy a product for him that will make some profits, because he doesn't know the future and what might happen tomorrow. So he needs to be assured that the company that he's working with him will generate much profits. The product is needed by the end customer, because there is another theory that happened in the business. It's not now B2B or B2C, it's B2D. It's business to direct. This is a new strategy that arisen after the COVID-19, which is the companies has to sell directly to the end user. Actually, this wasn't the strategies of the companies like 8 months ago. All the companies are shifting to regional distributions or assigning distributors like the FMCG model to get into the shops and to get directly to the end user. But currently, the companies are advised to sell directly to the end user. So they would have a base, or a strong base, that will be working on after the pandemic. Let me tell you something else. The content or the messages, or what currently the customer needs to hear, either it is my wholesaler or the end user. They need to feel the safety from whomever they are dealing with. People became very emotional after the COVID-19. They want to feel safe more. They want to hear news, a positive news more than that, because people were bombarded around the negative news of the spread of the COVID-19. There's no vaccine. You have an infected network around you that unfortunately caught COVID-19. So people were all the time are hearing negative news that affected them even in their business. And how their attitude shifted in their business. Like, I don't care anymore about the business. I do care about my safety and my family, because they had spent very long hours and very long time with their families. So we shifted the whole messages for their safety. Stay safe with your family. Even the offered things and some of the gifts that were given by that time, either consumer promotion or trade promotion, was communicating part of their safety, like giving some PPEs, from face masks, from alcohol or whatever that would make them safe. So the most important thing during the COVID-19 time, and this what really matters now, is that people need reassurance. It's not about only selling and stocking my products and getting your money. No, they need to feel reassurance. They need to feel safety around the people that they are working with. And again, I feel it's a success story what I've did the past period. And honestly, it wasn't only that I want to sell, although I was at risk at the company. If you didn't sell, if you didn't get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the sales people are always in risk or danger. If they didn't get the targets, you'll be the first one to get out of the company. What I needed to make sure first that the customers, or my customers, to get reassured that we are with them, that we could help them at any time, and there is safety around them first before buying our products and stocking our products. And this theory, thank God, paid back. And what also I need to advise here is that after the pandemic, actually all our behaviors, even our behavior, has drastically changed. It's the fear of tomorrow. It's the fear of what might happen. It's the fear of I might catch the COVID-19, I might lose one of my family or myself even. Again, the regular assessment, we can't assess in a very long term. We need to assess on weekly basis if we can, what we are doing, what is the strategy, how to tackle very important issues. And because every day we see and hear new things coming from the competition and from the industry itself. So the regular assessment is really very important. I advise not to cut any marketing expenditure, introducing new products at a lower cost, because this is the current behavior of the customer. And we cannot predict the future, but we could stay abreast of the present is very critical. Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Habiba, for your really great insights and for coming today, of course. Now actually we come up to the last session in our first track to give us insights from the United Kingdom and France. So welcome with me, please, Mr. Demian and Mr. Karim Mustafa.
Hello, everyone. Karim, are you here?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay, very good, because my connection was quite bad. I thought Karim wanted to start, but I don't know if he's connected yet. I saw him, but I don't hear him. So, Karim, we don't hear you. You have to remove your.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you well. Thank you.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us, Dr. Ibrahim, to this session. Damien will be joining me today on this session. We're going to talk about CMB and the group, which is an Egyptian company. CMB is Chemicals for Modern Building. It's one of the oldest construction chemicals companies in Egypt, which has been founded in 1979. Our key products are concrete admixtures, concrete products, paints, dry mortars, epoxies, adhesives, sealants. In the Egyptian market, we are known for high quality products and also innovation. So in 1997, we introduced the first do-it-yourself or home improvement store in the Egyptian market. 3 years ago, we started with our own academy, which was CMB Academy, to educate people and technicians on the right use of construction chemicals. The company holds also a big number of international patents, which helps us a lot in international sales. CMB as a group consists of 16 different companies with a total turnover of $150 million. A third of our turnover comes from exports. So that's why also Damien is joining me today from Marmox, France, to show the insights of Marmox, France. In Egypt, we sell mainly through the traditional ways, through wholesalers, distributors, and also through our own CMB stores. As my role as a business development manager during the crisis, and normally as well, my role is to find new clients and new markets to embrace. Also, it is communicating the new developments and new products to our current clients, such as Damien and other clients in Egypt and abroad. Also, the important thing is to find new opportunities, which obviously come through times like COVID-19, where we can see new product developments, which could be helpful in these hard times. With COVID-19, we faced a number of big challenges in Egypt and also abroad. The biggest challenge was a big drop in turnover. We had enormous logistic challenges. A lot of our customers closed their warehouses. We had cancellation of major exhibitions in Egypt and abroad. a big budget of our company usually goes to international exhibitions, such as in Germany and France, and also in Egypt. So we usually go with big booths, so it takes probably half of our budget. So our role during the crisis was, okay, we have a big problem which we have to address. So our first idea was we have to increase our digital marketing budget and change the strategy, basically from putting money into trade exhibitions and putting money to our digital marketing activities. We took a number of steps. First, in the local market, our first step was we improved the customer service department. We increased the number of customer service personnel because we thought the most important aspect for us is how the customer is going to see us. And through the different touch points, we were actually, through the customer service, through the improvement of the customer service department, we were also able to learn more about customers' needs. And we saw big changes in buying behavior during the crisis. We also increased the number of videos, online installation videos and online demonstration videos on YouTube. We increased the number of paid adverts on social media, and also the number of people who respond directly to the inquiries which come on our social media. During the months of Ramadan, we also made online price competitions for the end users and also for the technicians and for hobbyists. During the lockdown, there was a big trend that a lot of hobbyists came up with, wanted to use epoxy products to do stuff like countertops or floors in their own houses. So we were able as well through the competitions to get the attention of key influencers of hobbyists and technicians who started to share their videos to us. So we started sharing their videos on our social media channels and vice versa. Coming to the international market, the biggest challenge obviously was a big drop in turnover, mainly because a lot of our international clients had to close their offices, had to close their warehouses. One of the very interesting trends was France, because during the lockdown period, France was one of the few markets, or actually Damien, who is CEO of Marmox France, was able to keep the business almost as normal. So I would like to give the speech to Damien, who can share more about his knowledge and experience through COVID-19.
Yes, thank you very much, Karim. So thanks for inviting me, Ibrahim. It's very nice to join you all. I've listened to all the discussions, and I can tell you that even if I'm from a different country, I totally share everything that was said in terms of customer behavior, the feeling of the people, and how we experienced the lockdown. We are now in the second lockdown in France, so it's becoming a kind of experience for us. Yeah, we had a crazy change in terms of marketing and commercial in France, because our subsidiary evolved in a very highly competitive market. We faced large distributors and large competitors, and we sell mainly showers, sanitary items from the CMB range. And over the last 10 years, we have put a strategy in place just to have very logistical flexibility to improve the customer service. This was a very, very big key for us, just to bring more service to the people and be very reactive. So this was the first step into the digital strategy, but we didn't know how it could affect us over time and during the COVID period. So just to give you an idea, we are very, very retailers oriented, because 85% of the turnover is basically done through the physical distribution. And we have started internet very, very slowly, because we just created another brand, because we were using internet with price discount, and we were afraid that the customer would not buy from us anymore from the physical distribution, because we were cutting the price down on the internet. So we have created another brand, just a secondary brand to be able to sell to some marketplaces like Amazon and Mano Mano and so on. And we've started to increase our turnover on internet slowly, but still we kept our strategy, our marketing strategy oriented to the physical distribution because it was our main market, 85% of the turnover. And at that time, over the last years, the trend was that for the DIY products, the sales on internet was about 5% of the total channels. And it was expected to grow until 20% in 2025, which was quite a steady growth, but which was not still that important because it was only 5%. So that's why we kept our strategy. And then the COVID arrived, and like you guys in Egypt, I think you have seen this coming in a very, very question mark because we didn't know what to expect, to be honest. Our president just nicely informed us that we had to close all the shops, all the schools. I mean, it was a real complete lockdown as compared to some other countries. And we also had to close down some of the warehouses. And all our customers were closed. So we were expecting to lose 85% of our turnover. And we were not even expecting to be able to deliver the 15 remaining % that we were doing on internet. Nightmare, we had to adapt very quickly. And after the first weekend, when we came to our office and our network, we have discovered that we finally got an insane multiplication of the number of orders we got from internet. We have seen an explosion of orders. Hundreds and hundreds of orders were coming in from Amazon, from Mano Mano, from different marketplaces and specialized stores, which were not really fit for selling showers because transporting your showers, it's not something I regularly buy on internet. You need to touch, you need to have technical information and so on. And we were receiving many orders. So half of the logistic team were affected and infected by the COVID at that time. So we didn't even know if we could still continue this operation. But thanks to a task force, we've been able to really deliver it. And every day it was very busy day because we had a lot of orders to deliver door to door to end users instead of retailers. And it was a new job for us. So we had to really face this. And our first analysis from the customer discussions we had, just to share it and to agree on what was said before, that the customer change was massive. People were afraid of the COVID. And when people have fear, they want to get protection immediately. And they were staying home with social distancing, and they were investing mainly in what they want to protect and what gives them protection. It's the house. So they have made crazy renovation work in their house, which we were not expecting. And this led to a very big change of the marketing behavior online. And thanks to our connection to the marketplace, we have been able to tackle with this crisis. And of course, we didn't record any sales on the physical distribution, but the internet sales just completely covered the sales of Marmox in France. Thanks to CMB, who was able to produce as well, we've been able to reload the stock and to keep the trend. And what I want to tell you is that after that, we had the feeling that this would stop. We thought the COVID, the end of the lockdown, would bring back the business to normal, but it didn't. And just to share this experience with you, after the end of October, we are at plus 35% of growth as compared to last year, when we were expecting a drop of about 10 to 20% because we were expecting a big loss on March and April. And now the internet sales are generating more than 50% of our turnover as the 15% compared to last year. And which is a massive change for us. It's a complete knockdown of our business, and we were not prepared for this. So during the last months, since May and the end of the lockdown, we have developed more content. We have developed some transportation partnerships to deliver end users. We have completely changed in a very quick way and short term the way we do business. And we have recorded a lot of new partnership with e-commerce sellers. And we are now very successful with that because we've been able to deliver those people during the crisis. And now they trust us for this. So it was a really major change thanks to the flexibility in the logistic we've brought before. And what I want to tell you is, as compared to the 5% we were doing last year, and we were expecting 20% of the sales of the DIY done online in France in 2025, we are already at that figure in end of 2020, which is incredible figure and an incredible achievement, but nobody was really prepared for that. So this was a very, very big change for us. And we believe now we have been able to really tackle that issue and to be able to face the change that was proposed by the COVID, because we don't expect it to change. We think it's going to last for years and years. There will be clearly a before and an after COVID. And so now we believe our marketing strategy has to change for that, to embrace this change in the mindset of people. Yeah, and Karim, I think you had a question. You told me about.
No, I don't have a question. I'm not sure if anybody else has questions.
Yes, we have a question. We will raise it. We will raise the question actually in a few minutes from now.
Okay, it's just to tell you that in fact the major change at the conclusion for our marketing strategy was to take a decision as a group, because we have experience from every country, different things. So we have decided as a group in France, UK, Germany, Egypt as well, to come up with a very big corporate global online website. So we want to embrace this digital strategy, and we want to push all our means throughout this experience, because we believe that the investment in the social and online sales will be very, very paying off after that, because we believe that the social distancing will still last and people will still consume online a lot. So we want to really embrace it and to be able to lead our way for the marketing and the commercial strategy for the group. So thank you very much, Ibrahim, for your attention to the other.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ibrahim and Karim. Thank you so much for all our valuable guest speakers from those really rich sessions. And now we will move to hands-on experience session, okay, which is almost an open discussion platform where all attendees will be more than welcome, of course, to post their questions. And already, actually, I started receiving questions even by email right before the summit itself. And actually, our esteemed experts will be pleasure to discuss them with you. We have received the first question, and I think that should be handled by Dr. Ahmed Tolba, Professor of Marketing School of Business, AUC. The question is saying, actually, as many universities are heading towards online education, what are the core values of online education that marketeers should focus on while promoting for it, especially let's marginalize other aspects such as activities and so on?
All right, thank you, Dr. Ibrahim, and thank you all. And it's a great pleasure to be with you and with these esteemed panelists. I enjoyed the talks very, very much. This is a very, very good question. And from my side, from an education standpoint, I think the pandemic pushed universities to move online. And we all did that. And at the beginning, it was very tough. And we thought that we'll not be able to make it. But since then, I think we learned a lot. And I believe that the new normal is going to happen after the pandemic. And I believe that there will be a mix between online and face-to-face. It's not going to be just one versus the other. I believe that we need to benefit from the positives from going online, and also recognize that there are things that need to be done face-to-face. And as you mentioned, the campus activities and all these kinds of things are critical. So I want to just build on this a little bit and say that there are positives that happened for universities. I'll start with that. The value of online education was the following. Number one, we learned new tools. We learned how to make use of technology to be more efficient. We learned how to utilize the Zoom meetings that we had at any time. So we saved commute, we saved very hard processes that we need to have. I personally had to meet with students easier, although maybe we were using weekends a little bit, but convenience is something very positive. I think we use a lot of tools. We are being more efficient. We prepare for our sessions in videos. The Zoom meetings definitely are better. So I would love after the pandemic to continue using such tools. And also, I think that using the technology in recorded sessions and showcasing videos, all these kinds of things are great. We use a lot of tools such as breakout sessions that are very effective. The raise hands and the chats and all these tools were very efficient, even more than the classroom at times. So I think that there are values that need to be used. Having said that, the mix, the optimization of utilizing the online tools along with the face-to-face would be critical. So the post-pandemic, I think, is going to be far better if we are able to do that. I want to also emphasize something about online education. There is a difference between using online tools and having online programs fully. From an online education standpoint, there are two programs. A program called Blended. So blended programs are a mix of online and face-to-face. So I believe that that's going to be the way to go in the future. There are creative ways of benefiting from it. So the value could be that we can involve international students. So we can have classes across different universities. There are networks that are available across universities where professors from different universities have classes and they have joint projects together and they involve students together, which is a great international exposure that has not been there before. So I guess there are a lot of opportunities up there. But the bottom line is post-pandemic, the value for online education would be to benefit from the positives and also optimize the use of face-to-face so that you can have a better experience to the students, not just in education, but for the whole overall holistic experience.
Thank you. We have also another question, I believe can be directed to you also. The question is saying, for long period, the Egyptian government had undermined the value and the credibility of distance learning. How can marketeers build trust and equity of online education to Egyptian consumers after the COVID-19 period?
Oh, that's a very difficult question. I personally believe it's not an issue with the Egyptian government, it's a global issue. I think online education in general has not been recognized by accreditation bodies that much, but it is a matter of time. I can tell you that Middle States, which is the accrediting body for AUC as a university, has started to accept and introduce the online programs as accredited. So I think it's going to be a matter of time. Having said that, marketeers could do a lot. I think that COVID has accelerated the change, and the government is going to ultimately recognize that certain programs are going to be accepted this way. It's going to be starting step by step. I think the best start would be with graduate programs and certificates. And once the accreditors will start to appreciate that, we can use the value that I just mentioned in a previous answer, the value of optimization, the value of offering tools online, but also to mix the online and face-to-face in a blended format. And I think step by step, the outcome of the programs will be more critical than how they are done. And the accrediting body are going to adapt, and the government will follow afterwards. So that's my brief for it.
Thank you so much. The third question I have can be directed to Mr. Bakri, the founder and chief growth officer of Tenfold Innovations. What are the most innovative solutions that you have advised your clients during COVID-19? Again, what are the most innovative solutions that you have advised your clients during COVID-19?
Hey, thanks, Ibrahim, for the question. And thanks, everyone. Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. Some old colleagues, Ahmed, Dr. Ahmed, and Haitham. And thanks to everybody who's attending. Very good question, actually. And I'd like to go back a few steps before answering what are the most innovative solutions that I gave to either partners or clients or people who take our advice. The basic advice is I tell everybody, go back to understanding who's your current customer. Who's your customer? This is the basis of marketing of everything that we do. And then, who's your current target? What changes in their habits have happened, in their needs, either on the macro level or on the micro level? So is your product still relevant to them now? Is your price still relevant? Is your packaging still relevant? can they afford you? Do they need you to start with? So, and then if the answer is yes, great. Most probably the answer was yes or no. And if it's a no, then this is where you start to think, let's innovate. What can we do to match what consumers are asking today? Also, I've advised them to see what new customers are emerging in the market, because you could have a business targeting a certain customer, but also there are new needs that came which have created new customers or consumers in the market. Dr. Ahmed was just talking about online education, for example. This was, call it a very small, slow-paced industry in specifically the Middle East. Now, in the rest of the world, in the US, for example, yes, online education is booming, but still not to a certain levels. In the Middle East, it's still a very, very nascent industry. What we've seen in the past few months is a boom in online education. There is a lot of new startups that are coming focused on online education, for example. So one of the innovations, I wouldn't call it an innovation, but it's more of a marketing and a business strategy that I advised an online education platform. It's called Zidni. You guys should check it out. It's great. And Dr. Ahmed, I talked to you about it before. Zidni was actually is an online education platform that has a B2B and a B2C segment, but they have the certain strategy on how to start and when to start. When the COVID happened, we advised them to accelerate their launch, because this is the time where people really need that kind of education. People cannot go to physical courses anymore. Also B2B, business to business. Now, while originally they were thinking of only consumers, we thought, all right, after COVID, most organizations who have huge training budgets, they cannot send their employees to training anymore. However, they still need the education and the training to build their business. So we opened up a B2B channel to Zidni, and we started talking to big corporations, and there you go. It was very, very successful. Also, the content of the product that Zidni was offering started to be adapted to the needs of the B2B customer. Of course, the most basic advice is for every business to go online. And I've talked to so many businesses who are very traditional in their approach. For example, furniture designers and shops. They have a shop, they're in a mall, they're used to reaching consumers in a certain manner, and they never had a real e-commerce platform. These are not necessarily a huge innovation from innovation standpoint, but this is innovation to the business and the business model. I advise people to look at their business model and go to where customers are going today. Grocery shopping. People were locked down for a few months. People were afraid to go to the supermarket, actually. So again, grocery shopping across the region, not just in Egypt, has boomed over the past few months. Either new startups came in, or actually existing businesses in the e-commerce or grocery shopping business. They were starting slow, and then they saw a huge boom. I know one of the examples, a startup called Elves. Elves is a concierge. It's actually helps you to do things for you. Actually, it's like your personal concierge. And then, so basically you reach out to them, you ask them for things, and they do it for you. Simple as that. I want you to buy this for me. I want you to buy that for me. And then Elves, after the pandemic, they saw a huge shift in people asking for grocery shopping because they don't want to go to the supermarket anymore. They're afraid, right? And they didn't even have capacity enough for delivery people or enough partnerships with suppliers for grocery shopping. Guess what? Elves 2 weeks ago launched their own grocery shopping platform. So although it was only targeted for concierge multidisciplinary service, now they have a specialized grocery. And this is amazing because this is adapting your product and your strategy based on what's happening in the market. Again, entertainment, travel, of course, one of the biggest sectors that were hit by the pandemic is the entertainment section, food and beverage, eating out and dining out, and of course, the travel section. So honestly, there are some businesses where I advised, it's not an innovation, but it's solutions like, you know what, stop or minimize your costs. This is not going to come back soon. Some who were focused on outbound travel, international travel, they've shifted their strategy completely into inbound travel, and they've designed completely new products to cater for the inbound, what we call domestic travels, because people cannot travel abroad anymore. Some more interesting, I would say, innovations, which I've seen, and some of them I've helped as well, or we've helped as tenfold, is, for example, there's a huge trend of people going for their coffee every morning, right? And then people like to stop for their coffee, but then coffee shops were not allowing people in, and we saw a trend there. And but people still wanted to do their coffee. If you look, if you go into, for example, Starbucks drive-throughs in Cairo, when they opened, there were huge lines of, like, you could stand there for 30 minutes or 45 minutes just to get your coffee on your way to your office in the morning. So actually, we developed solutions for that, where you can pre-order your coffee before going, and then the supplier, you go and pick it up on your way. You can pay it online if you're okay paying online. And one of the key examples, this is not a company that we advised or worked with, but it caught our attention. Actually, it's building on that. It's called Via. Via is a pickup service for not just for coffee, but also for any sort of anything that you want to order and pick up on your way. So it's very convenient, and it's also very safe. Last but not least, I mean, there's plenty. I mean, it goes back really again to who is your target, what's happening. And now, for our kind of business and marketing specifically, and for startups, everything we do in marketing usually starts by research, by understanding your customer, your consumer, your market, talking to them, empathizing with them, observing them. Now, that was not possible in COVID, and until today, we're finding it very difficult to, in the old days, we used to have a focus group of a few consumers sitting in a room, or we go and visit them in their house, or etc. It's not possible anymore. So the entire research industry really switched completely to online research, and guess what? It's working very well. We can have a focus group on Zoom or on other applications today. The moderators got used to it. We can visit people virtually into their homes and see their habits and practices. People have adapted, but also the industry, the whole research industry, have adapted so fast into applying this very successfully. Yeah, these are the kinds of things that we advise the clients.
Right, thank you. But actually, there is a very interesting question also I want to ask you about, and actually it was directed from one of our participants by email.
Yes.
What kind of advice you would give for startup companies during COVID-19? What factors, what the thing you really advise them they should focus on, or they should consider as a main factor, especially for startup companies?
Okay. Thank you. I mean, my company Tenfold is a startup on its own. So actually, so I'll give them the advice I gave to myself, and I give to a lot of other people. The number one advice is be adaptable and be smart, and don't let emotions get in the way, because maybe you're doing something today, or you started something today which pre-COVID was such a strong concept, has huge potential for growth and success, but post-COVID doesn't make sense anymore. So don't let your passion and your emotion get in the way and make you stubborn into, no, we're still gonna do it, we can still do it, it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna work. So really you need to stop, and we've done that ourselves, and I've done that myself. So is what I'm doing today still valid? Is the market still accepting of this? Is the consumer still accepting of this? And sometimes you need to stop completely, and that's a very harsh decision to make, because you've invested time, energy, emotions, people, you've recruited people, but you know what? Some harsh decision to be done. Or sometimes, as we call it in the startup world, we can pivot. So we were going to, so what do I have today? I have some infrastructure, I have a good team, I have some funds. And we wanted to do this, but this is not going to work perfectly now or in the next 2-3 years, right? How can I use the resources that I have, the brilliant minds and the infrastructure and the funds to do something else that's more relevant? I would say also, if you're working on a startup and if you plan to do, for example, a certain launch or launch with a certain product, try to minimize the scale. So the concept of MVP, minimum viable product, really stands nowadays more than ever. So don't try to launch the most perfect product or the most perfect business from day one. Try to minimize it. Just start with the minimal that you can give people. Try it, because most of the time you're going to learn a lot and actually adapt again and re-engineer the product again. So don't try to spend all your money or time at one time. Just take it step by step. The timings and the way things are done take much more time. So set your expectations right. For example, I'll tell you very frankly, there's one startup that I'm actually working on personally within our company, and we planned to launch last September. Okay, but in order and as we speak now, we're not launching before next March. So basically 6 months delay in the launch. Now, were we lazy? No, it's just basically things have slowed down. There are factories, for example, this startup is related to producing things in certain factories. There are factories which closed down for 2 up to 3 months. So set your expectations and also expectations of your investors correctly, because investors, once they give you their money, they're running after your achievements. So please set your expectations right. Otherwise, you're gonna, piss off a lot of people, and you're gonna be demotivated. Keep the team spirit high, and then as an entrepreneur and as a team leader, and you're working with a bunch of good people, it's easy to be demotivated in these times. It's easy to feel at risk, insecure about the future. Be open to them, tell them everything at face value, tell them all the risks, but if you believe that you can make it together. Just keep the team spirit high. You can, everybody can. There are brilliant startups that have emerged in the past few months, or startups that were not doing so well, but they actually took the challenge and started up, and actually they're doing extremely well. Today I can share tons of names, not only in Egypt, but again, across the Middle East. So just keep the team spirit high. And the last but not least, honestly, is always work with zero budget mentality. And that's what I do in my business. So everything that you need to do in the business, try to minimize the cost as much as possible. If you can do it for free, do it for free. If you can do it yourself, do it yourself. If you can do it for $10 instead of $100, do that. So don't think, because we don't know what's coming to tomorrow. And if you have some cash or cash flow in your hand today, don't spend it today. Try to keep it for the next period. Someone was talking before about wave 2 of pandemic that's happening in the West now, in Europe and in the US, etc. We don't know when it's going to end. Yes, I know yesterday we had amazing news that Pfizer, announced a vaccine of 90% success rate, but when is this going to hit the markets, etc. So really keep your cash flow in your pocket. I was just having a debate with my team yesterday about our own company website. They were telling me, oh, we need to do the website, but it costs that much. And I'm insisting that we do it with our own hands, because we can't afford to go and be luxurious and hire a fancy website designer. These are the level of details that we need to work on to keep our money for the insecure coming future.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Bakri. We have a very interesting question, and I will forward it to our colleague, Mr. Haytham. There's a question asking about the advertising strategy and promotions. And the question is saying, is it true that promotions and offers are more valued by Egyptian consumers than regular advertising methods? during COVID-19 pandemic, and why? The question again, is it true that promotions and offers are more valued by Egyptian consumers than any normal or regular advertising methods during COVID-19, and why?
Al-Khair, bonsoir. Well, it's a pleasure to be around such beautiful people and beautiful minds, and I've been enjoying all the talks for the past 2 hours. And I hope whatever I have to say would actually add some value to such an already valuable group of people and group of thoughts. So looking at this question, I guess COVID-19 was, in my opinion, an accelerator. It's not necessarily a change as much as it showed us firsthand how fast things or trends that we thought would take 5 to 10 years to end, they actually ended in a minute or in a second. And how fast other trends we thought would only start to appear in 5 to 10 years. I would go back to the example of the online education or even such Zoom meetings. I mean, who would have thought back in Jan 2020, which is less than a year ago, that such an important high-level summit would be done over Zoom? I guess it would have been viewed as a ridiculous idea. So why wouldn't we do it at the AUC new campus and have a huge audience, et cetera, et cetera? And now we're having it on Zoom, and I have a huge sign saying home behind me wearing pink. So who would have thought back in Jan that this would be the way such a summit would be carried out? So thinking that COVID changed anything, actually, I would go back to what Bakri was saying a couple of minutes ago, which is, again, it's all about your product and your consumer. So how to get them in touch together, how to get your consumer to actually prefer your product. So the tricks are the same. It's just how you use them and how you use these tricks on new channels. And I think the key aspect of COVID-19 is rhythm and timing. So whatever you used to do in a year, whatever used to take you a year to maybe plan for a campaign and maybe shoot a video and then plan for the media spending for this campaign, etc. So it would take you a year. For example, if you're working for a multinational, you have to plan it months and months and months ahead. Now you have to do it in a day and maybe even change it, upgrade it, and cancel it, maybe go to plan B within the same day because you are on social media. That's one thing. Another thing that I would like to add is that humanity by nature is against any kind of change. So once we felt the impact of COVID-19, we started resisting it and we started trying to go back to the old normal that we're used to. Yet, instead of resisting it, and even with the second wave, now we are trying to look beyond COVID-19. And I think what COVID-19 actually taught us is that we are not going back to normal. We need to create a new normal. So this is what I think the answer to the question is. So offers, and if I reread the question, so promotions and offers, since when didn't consumers ask for promotions and offers? They've asked for promotions and offers since forever. It's only a matter of what kind of promotions and offers. So that's what marketeers today and actually business owners today and CEOs today need to think about. And even R&D people creating new products that are supposed to be launched this year or maybe the next year or maybe in 5 years, they either need to bring it forward and faster. So I have a client and they're one of the biggest supermarkets in Egypt. They have almost 500 branches. And they had a plan to start their delivery service in 2021. When Corona hit, it took them only 2 months since Corona hit in March to actually launch their delivery service. They will in full power in 3 months, instead of waiting for a full year to just launch the delivery service. So that's, again, the pace is very important. And that's something that COVID-19 taught us. And the second thing is, let's create a new normal. Let's not look back and try to go back to whatever we were used to. Let's create the new normal. So promotions and offers, they've always been there. They will always be there. A consumer will always like to see that nice sort of dash on whatever price. So it used to be 100 and now it's 80. Now it's 60, etc. They always loved it and they always will.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your insights. I have a question for Mr. Karim and Dimia, but I understand that Dimia and I think have left. It will be directed to Karim. Mr. Karim, the question was, in addition to sharing what you have conducted actually during your talk, how will COVID-19 affect your future marketing plans?
Well, as Damien noted, hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. As Damien noted earlier, we are working together with all our distributors in Europe to launch a corporate website. The corporate website will also have online sales. So before, we used to have only our website in Egypt, and every one of our distributors used to have his own website, and they used to sell directly through the traditional ways, through wholesalers, through stores, tile chains, or building merchants. But with COVID-19, we are going to take the direct approach, selling directly online in different countries. So we're going to set a certain basket of goods which we're going to introduce online. They will be sold across all countries in a certain price range, so that end users can directly order from us online the products. As Damien noted earlier, there's already a logistic platform now online. So as Dr. Haitham said, it's just an accelerator. It is our plan was in 3 years to be online with all our distributors, but things which were supposed to happen in 3 years are going to happen by next May. We'll be fully online with all our distributors. The other thing is, through COVID-19, what I want to stress on, our customer service has to be a priority. So it's really, in these times, people are more at home than they used to. So they want to have the direct communication with companies. Some of them don't even go into the stores or tile chains anymore. So the model of distribution is changing from offline to online. So that's basically the changes which we are embracing through a corporate website with online facilities.
Thank you so much, Karim. And we have actually a common question. It was sent directing to most of our panelists. So I will ask the question. I will start, turn back again to Dr. Ahmed Tolba. From your perspective, what are the major shifts in the Egyptian consumer behavior due to COVID-19, and which of these will continue? Of these shifts?
Yeah, that's a huge question because it depends on so many factors. I personally want to echo what other panelists have been saying, that this pandemic has had an effect, and it's an accelerator to changes. But I would like to note a couple of points very simply. Number one is online shopping definitely is going to grow and has grown. The usage of online payment and the fintech industry in general is going to be flourishing. And I think that there will be a lot of change in that. People will be more comfortable doing going for such payments. Definitely, there were some products that have grown in terms of purchase, like the health and safety and all these kinds of products. Yes, this has grown, but maybe this is temporary and may change. And in fact, I'm teaching a marketing research class this semester, and one of the projects that I asked the students to do is to analyze how the students' consumer behavior is going to change after the pandemic, and what would remain and what would stay. I would say that the online shopping is going to grow, but I think there are some products that had an unusual increase in demand, and this will return back to normal afterwards. But again, the short answer is change in behavior and a new normal, a new acceleration that has happened anyway.
Okay, thank you. We want also to hear the opinion of Mr. Bakri. From your perspective, would be there any regional shift in consumer behavior during COVID-19? Do you think it will continue also after the pandemic?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Yes, I think it was also I think it was said, if we think about everything that was said by the panel and previous speakers, the behaviors are very clear, and there's a lot of research, either regionally in the Middle East or global, on changing consumer behaviors post-COVID, and there are key elements that are very clearly changing. Well, consumers are adapting to the new norm. That's to start with. So they're staying more at home. They're giving up outdoor activities, outdoor leisure activities, dining, entertainment, etc., and they're shifting that inside the home. But will that continue post-COVID? Nobody knows, but all predictions say yes, there is going to be a change in consumer habit. Well, they're not going to stay, if they're staying today, 100% at home, they're going to, and before they used to stay only 10%, it's going to be somewhere in the middle. That's one key behavior. Customer journey or consumer journey in general has shifted much more from offline to online. There's a huge increase in that. So people are buying more online, as Dr. Ahmed said, across every single sector: education, entertainment, food, grocery, etc., etc. So that is already there. Working from home, for example, huge industry now in terms of applications. Look at Zoom. Zoom share price skyrocketed, and there are a lot of big rivals coming to compete with Zoom now, either on global level, and I know that on regional level as well, and in Egypt, there are some startups coming up soon to facilitate working from home in a much smoother way. That's another huge behavior and trends that will stay there. Increase in media consumption. For example, people are staying more home. They're watching more TV. They're watching more of their Netflix or online streaming businesses. So those who are not in online streaming business, then now they are in. I don't think they're going out after this. They're going to stay in the online streaming business. So just to give you some numbers from the Middle East, at least 40% growth in e-commerce only 3 months after COVID started. This is a research, this is a number, right? And this is only a few months back. I'm sure it's pretty more than this. 80% of people say that they want contactless payment. You know what's contactless payment? It's just, I don't want to use cash anymore. Cash is not safe. Cash is full of viruses. So they want to use their credit cards, and even credit cards now in the more advanced markets, in the Gulf, for example, and in Egypt, it started like this. People don't even want to, put their card and put their PIN number. They want to use the Wi-Fi enabled card because they don't want to touch anything with their hand. So many other behaviors are happening. The biggest one, in my opinion, that is going to be across most sectors and segments is that consumers' economic power for the foreseeable future will be weakened. So because of everything that's happening, a lot of people lost their jobs or got cut in salary cuts. A lot of businesses have shut down. A lot of industries are completely shut down. And like we say, the entertainment, the travel, the airlines, hotels, etc. So people are poorer, and they will continue to be poorer for the next few years, because even post the pandemic, this is going to take time for the macro and even the microeconomic situation to improve. How will that influence consumer behavior? It will influence their buying habits, their purchasing habits, their spending habits, their saving habits. So yeah, these are the most critical elements of behavioral changes that have changed, and I think will continue to change post the pandemic.
Thank you, Mr. Bakri, and thank you also, Dr. Tolba. Let us hear the opinion of Mr. Haytham, CEO of BrandWorks. Do you have a different perspective regarding the shifts in Egyptian consumer behavior due to COVID-19?
I wouldn't say this. I would just like to add to what Dr. Ahmed and Bakri just said, which is that I think people are changing their behavior not only in regards to what they buy, but also to how they live their life. I mean, when you stayed home, you started appreciating the time you spend with your kids, the time you spend at home in general. I mean, Bekri, when he was talking about the queues and the lines to get your Starbucks in the morning, I'm one of those guys. I'm usually standing in that line. And I just discovered when we stayed home that my wife bought me something like 2 years ago, an espresso machine that I never used at home because I am never at home. So I only started using it when I stayed home because of COVID-19. And it sort of put into perspective a lot of things. So I started using my Nespresso machine. I moved my office from halfway across Cairo to somewhere close to home because I want to be home earlier and not spend 2 hours of traffic every day. That actually are the 2 hours in which I have a potential chance of seeing my kids before they go to sleep, because usually by the time I get back from work, they're already asleep because they have school in the morning. So all of that, I think it's not only about what they buy, it's about how they live their life. I think COVID-19 gave us a chance to put our entire life into perspective, how you spend your time. The idea of work-life balance is completely changed. So instead of driving 2 hours from where I live in Sheikh Zayed to Tajammu, for example, to attend a 30 minutes meeting, let's have it on Zoom. And now clients are more receptive of this idea that it's not out of disrespect. It's not unethical that I'm not driving all the way to Tajammu to get to meet the CEO or the president of whatever company. It's actually out of being practical. And it's only a 30 minutes meeting. It could be an introduction meeting or a very important meeting that will only take 30 minutes. So it's not worth 2 hours driving back and forth to Tajammu just to attend that meeting. So I think it's not only about what they purchase. We need to understand what's behind the purchases, which is the lifestyle. The lifestyle will change. They will demand more of their time. We will demand more of our time, which accordingly will affect their purchases.
Thank you so much, Mr. Haytham. Actually, by this we're running out of time, so by this we will finish and we will end our summit for today. I, Ibrahim Sahouli, Assistant Professor of Marketing in AUC School of Business, sincerely thank every and each panelist and attendee for their valuable insights and contributions. Having discussed some of really of the pandemic marketing challenges, I think that maybe the up next big question will be, will life return to its normality after COVID-19, or its impact will live with us? I believe this can be a future theme of discussion. Thank you so much again for being with us today, and I wish you a very fruitful careers and life, inshallah.
Thank you.
Thank you all
so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gary.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Walid, Dr. Tahir, everyone.